She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Marriage is about what you provide. Not love, not partnership, not us. Provide." That was the moment something inside me cracked. Quietly, cleanly, like glass you don't hear break until you move. I didn't respond right away. I just stared at her, trying to figure out when the woman I planned to marry turned into someone negotiating a contract. We were sitting at the small kitchen table in our apartment, the one we picked together because she liked the natural light, and I liked how she smiled when she talked about our future. There was a half-empty mug of coffee between us. Cold, forgotten, kind of like me. I remember thinking, is this really happening? Because 5 years earlier, when we met, she used to say things like, "As long as we're together, we'll figure it out." Back then, I believed her. Her name is Maya. We met when we were both broke, both hopeful, both convinced love could carry weight money couldn't. I was working 2 jobs, trying to finish my degree. She was chasing a career in marketing, bouncing between internships that promised exposure instead of pay. We grew together, or at least, I thought we did. When I got my first real job, I paid more of the rent. When she was stressed, I cooked. When she cried about feeling behind in life, I held her and told her timelines were fake. I meant it. When I proposed last year, it wasn't flashy. No crowd, no violinist hiding in a bush. Just us, on a quiet trail, her favorite place. She cried, said yes, said she felt safe with me. Safe. That word mattered to me. Things started shifting after the engagement, slowly at first. Like a temperature change you don't notice until you're already uncomfortable. She started talking differently, about standards, about what she deserved, about how marriage was serious and required structure. I didn't panic. I thought it was just pre-wedding nerves, pressure, social media comparisons. Everyone posting rings and vacations and perfect lives. But then came the comments. "So, what's your plan for increasing your income? Do you think this job is enough long-term?" My friend's husband just bought her a new car. Each one landed like a pebble. Annoying, dismissible, until the pile got heavy. That night, the night she said it, we were supposed to be discussing wedding venues. Instead, she closed her laptop, folded her arms, and sighed. "I just need to be honest with you," she said. Those words always come before damage. She told me she was worried. That marriage wasn't just about love, that it was about security, stability, provision. I nodded. I agreed. Of course it was. I wasn't irresponsible. I paid my bills. I saved. I planned. But then she leaned forward and said it. "Marriage is about what you provide, not we. You." I asked her what she meant. Calmly, carefully. She didn't hesitate. I need to know you can give me the life I want. Financially. Emotionally too. But mostly financially. I don't want to struggle. Something in her tone changed. Like she was explaining something obvious to someone slow. I felt my chest tighten. I reminded her where we started. The apartment with roaches. The nights we split ramen. The promises. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "That was then," she said. "We're not kids anymore." Kids. 5 years of loyalty reduced to immaturity. I asked her if she thought I wasn't enough. She paused. "Just long enough." "I think you could be," she said. If you pushed harder, as if I hadn't already been pushing for years." That's when I realized this wasn't a conversation. It was an evaluation, and I was failing it. I didn't yell. I didn't storm out. I just sat there, listening as she explained what she expected from a husband. A bigger house, better vacations, less budget talk, a man who could lead. Each word felt less like a dream and more like a demand. I thought about the nights I stayed up late so she could sleep, the way I reassured her when she felt small, the sacrifices that never made it onto her list. None of that counted as provision. She finally stopped talking and waited, like she expected me to promise something, to swear I'd become whatever she needed. I felt strangely calm, and that scared me more than anger, because calm meant clarity. I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, I didn't see my future wife. I saw someone measuring my worth in numbers I'd never agreed to play by. I said quietly, "So, if I can't provide that, what happens?" She shrugged. "I just need to be realistic." Realistic. That word tasted bitter. I stood up. My legs felt heavy, but steady. She looked confused. Maybe she expected negotiation, or reassurance. Instead, I said the sentence that ended everything. "Then I'm providing my absence." Her face changed instantly. "What does that mean?" she asked, laughing nervously, but I was already grabbing my keys. It meant I was done being auditioned for a role I never applied for. It meant love shouldn't feel like a performance review. It meant I finally chose myself, and I had no idea what was about to happen next. I didn't leave that night like a movie scene. No dramatic door slam. No rain. Just me sitting in my car for almost an hour, hands on the steering wheel, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed. "Maya, you're being dramatic. Come back so we can talk." Talk. As if we hadn't just talked for 2 hours straight. I typed. Deleted. Typed again. "Me. I need space." She didn't reply after that. Not that night. I drove to my brother's place. He didn't ask questions. Just handed me a beer and let the silence do its job. That was always his thing. He understood that some realizations need room to breathe. I barely slept. The next morning, my phone exploded. Missed calls. Texts. Voicemails. "Maya, I didn't mean it like that." "Maya, why are you overreacting?" "Maya, every marriage needs a provider." "Maya, my mom agrees with me." That last one hit harder than it should have. Her mom had always been polite, distant, the kind of woman who smiled without warmth. I suddenly remembered every sideways comment she'd made about my job, about my car, about how ambitious her daughter was. This wasn't new. I just finally heard it clearly. I went back to the apartment that afternoon to grab clothes. Maya was home. She stood in the hallway like she'd been waiting for hours. Red eyes, arms crossed, defensive before I even opened my mouth. "So you're really doing this?" she asked. I walked past her and opened the closet. "I'm getting some things." She followed me, her voice rising. "You just left. You didn't even try to work it out." I turned to her. "I did try. For years." She scoffed. "So, because I want stability, you run?" "That's not what you said," I replied. Calm, controlled. "You said marriage is about what I provide." She rolled her eyes. "You're twisting my words." I wasn't. I asked her something that had been sitting heavy in my chest all night. "If I lost my job tomorrow, would you still want to marry me?" She didn't answer. Not immediately. And that pause, that was louder than any insult. "Well," she started, "that would depend on how quickly you got back on your feet." I nodded slowly. There it was. Conditional love dressed up as practicality. I grabbed a duffel bag and zipped it shut. The sound felt final. She suddenly panicked. "You're really going to throw away 5 years?" she asked. I looked at her, and for the first time, I wasn't afraid of losing her. "I'm not throwing it away," I said. "I'm just not investing more into something that doesn't value me." She followed me to the door. "You're making a mistake," she said, voice shaking now. "You won't find someone like me again." I believed her, and I was okay with that. I stayed with my brother for a week. Then, too, I told work I needed time. I thought I'd feel broken, devastated. Instead, I felt light, lonely, yes, sad, definitely, but not worthless. Maya didn't stop trying. Her messages shifted tone. Apologies, promises, long paragraphs about love and growth and misunderstanding. Then came the guilt. "We already told everyone. My parents are asking questions. Do you know how embarrassing this is for me?" For her, not once did she say, "I hurt you." That realization settled in slowly, like dust after a collapse. One night, about 3 weeks in, she showed up unannounced at my brother's door. She looked different, softer, vulnerable, no makeup, no armor. "I miss you," she said quietly. My brother disappeared into the kitchen without a word. We sat on the couch, a space between us that felt wider than miles. "I didn't mean to make you feel small," she said. "I was just scared." I believed she was scared. But fear doesn't excuse contempt. "I never wanted to be your enemy," she continued. "I just wanted reassurance." I nodded. "And I wanted partnership," I replied. "Not pressure." She reached for my hand. "I still want to marry you." I pulled my hand back gently. "I don't." Her eyes widened. "You don't mean that." "I do." The silence that followed was brutal. "I can change," she whispered. I looked at her and thought, even if you did, I already changed, because once you see how someone values you, you can't unsee it. She left crying. I sat there shaking, not from doubt, from relief. The next few months were quiet, painful, necessary. I moved into a small studio, cheap, mine. I rebuilt routines, gym in the mornings, work, reading at night. I stopped checking her social media, stopped asking mutual friends for updates. Then one day, curiosity won. She was engaged again, 6 months after we broke up. Big ring, bigger smile, a man in finance. Caption full of hashtags about blessings and provision. I stared at the screen longer than I should have, and instead of jealousy, I felt clarity. She didn't want me. She wanted what I represented or couldn't. That night, I slept better than I had in a year because I finally understood something important. Love isn't proven by what you provide. It's proven by what you protect. And I protected myself. A year passed. Not the kind that flies by, the kind that stretches, teaches, forces you to sit with yourself longer than you're comfortable. I didn't date right away. Not because I was scared, but because I didn't trust my instincts yet. I kept replaying moments in my head, wondering how many red flags I'd painted green just because I loved her, because I wanted it to work. That thought haunted me more than the breakup itself. I focused on work. Took a promotion I'd almost turned down before because it required travel. Turns out, being alone makes decisions simpler, harder but cleaner. The money got better. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but steadily. The irony didn't escape me. This was the version of me Maya wanted. She just didn't want to grow with me to get here. I ran into her by accident one afternoon. Grocery store, frozen foods aisle. Of all places, she was with him. Tall guy, confident posture, designer shoes. The kind of man who looks like he belongs in places that require reservations. She froze when she saw me. He didn't. "Hey," he said, offering a hand. "I'm Chris." I shook it. Firm. Neutral. Maya looked different. Not bad. Just tired. The smile she wore felt practiced. "This is awkward," she laughed. "Only if we make it," I replied. We exchanged small talk. Weather. Work. Nothing real. Chris excused himself to grab something from another aisle. The silence that followed was heavy. "You look good," she said finally. "So do you." A lie, but a kind one. She hesitated, then asked the question I knew was coming. "Are you happy?" I thought about it. Really thought. "Yes," I said. "I am." Her eyes flickered. Just for a second. "I'm glad," she said. But her voice didn't match. Chris returned. They left. I stood there staring at frozen pizzas, feeling strangely complete. I realized something important that day. Closure doesn't always come from conversations. Sometimes it comes from comparisons, and I wasn't comparing anymore. A few weeks later, my phone buzzed with a number I hadn't seen in months. Unknown, but familiar. I answered. "Hey," Maya said. Soft, careful. I closed my eyes. "What's up?" "I shouldn't be calling," she admitted. "But I just needed to say something." I didn't stop her. "I'm not as happy as I thought I'd be," she said. "And I don't think it's because of him." Silence. "I think I made everything about security," she continued. "And I forgot how to be human." I felt a tug in my chest. Old emotions testing locked doors. "I'm sorry," she said, "for making you feel like you were never enough." That apology came too late to hurt or heal. "Thank you for saying that," I replied. "I hope you find what you're looking for." She hesitated. "Do you ever think we—" "No," I said gently. "I don't." She exhaled. A quiet, defeated sound. "I figured," she whispered. When the call ended, I didn't feel victorious. I felt free, because I no longer needed her understanding to validate my decision. A few months after that, I met someone new. Her name was Lena. No fireworks, no lightning bolt, just ease. On our first date, I told her about my past. Not the details, just the lesson. She listened, didn't interrupt. Then she said something that stopped me cold. "I don't care what you can give me," she said. "I care about who you are when life takes things away." I stared at her for a long time. She smiled nervously. "Too intense for a first date?" "No," I said. "Perfect." We built something slow, intentional, real. No scorecards, no expectations disguised as love. One night, months later, we sat on my balcony watching the city breathe. She leaned her head on my shoulder and asked, "What scares you most about marriage?" I answered without hesitation, "Being valued for the wrong reasons." She squeezed my hand. "That won't happen here," she said. And I believed her, not because she promised, but because she never tested me. Sometimes I think back to that night in the kitchen. The cold coffee, the folded arms, the sentence that changed everything. Marriage is about what you provide. She was wrong. Marriage is about who stays when providing isn't possible. Who sees you when you have nothing extra to offer. Walking away cost me 5 years. Staying would have cost me myself. And that's a price I'll never pay again. The wedding invitation arrived in the mail on a Tuesday. Cream-colored envelope, gold lettering, heavy cardstock. The kind designed to impress before it's even opened. Maya and Chris, together forever. I stared at it longer than I should have. Lena was in the kitchen, humming softly as she made coffee. No tension, no performance, just peace. I felt it in my chest like a quiet anchor. "You gonna open that?" she asked casually. I handed it to her without a word. She read it, looked up, then back at me. No jealousy, no insecurity. "How do you feel?" she asked. I searched myself for the answer. "Indifferent," I said honestly, then paused. "Grateful." She smiled and handed it back. "Good." I didn't go to the wedding. Instead, Lena and I took a weekend trip to the coast. Cheap motel, long walks, no photos for social media, just us existing without trying to prove anything. One night, as we watched waves crash under a moonlit sky, she asked me something unexpected. "Do you think people always mean to hurt each other?" I thought about Maya, about her mother, about expectations dressed up as love. "No," I said slowly. "I think some people just confuse comfort with connection." She nodded. "That makes sense." That was the difference. Maya wanted certainty. Lena wanted honesty. A year later, I proposed. Not because it felt safe, because it felt right. I didn't worry about whether I was enough. I already knew. We married quietly. No spectacle. Just family, friends, and vows that felt like promises, not conditions. During the reception, my brother raised a glass. "To a man who learned the hard way that love isn't transactional," he said, and had the courage to walk away when it became one. People laughed, clapped. I saw Maya's old friends there. Mutuals. They smiled politely. No whispers. No tension. After all this time, the story no longer belonged to anyone else. Years passed. Life happened. Jobs changed. Money went up and down. Plans failed. Others succeeded. There were months when I earned more than Lena. Months when she carried us. Times when neither of us felt like we were providing much of anything, but we never kept score. One night, after a particularly rough stretch, unexpected medical bills, work stress, sleepless nights, I apologized to her for not being better right now. She looked at me like I'd spoken another language. "You're here," she said. "That's enough." And in that moment, I understood something deeper than before. Provision isn't about money, it's about presence. Years later, I heard through the grapevine that Maya and Chris divorced. No scandal, no drama, just quiet paperwork and separate lives. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt sad, because I knew she probably went into that marriage believing the right checklist would protect her from pain. It doesn't. Nothing does, except choosing someone who doesn't measure love by what they can extract from you. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that version of myself sitting in his car, staring at the steering wheel, wondering if he'd just ruined his life. I wish I could reach back through time and tell him this. You didn't lose her. You escaped a future where you were never enough. You chose dignity over comfort, self-respect over approval. And yes, it hurt. But pampas, self-betrayal doesn't. Marriage isn't about what you provide. It's about what you protect, your values, your peace, your sense of self. That night, when I told her I was providing my absence, I wasn't being cruel. I was being honest. And honesty, real honesty, will always cost you the wrong people, but it will save you from the wrong life. Sometimes closure isn't peace, it's distance. And sometimes walking away isn't failure. It's the moment you finally show up for yourself.